It's funny because the shirt looks white on camera, but in person it's like pink because I washed it with a red sock. Don't do that. And the fourth novel I have read this year was The Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. This is my first Agatha Christie novel that I have finished, so I am very excited to say that I have read an Agatha Christie novel. Oh wait, I don't even think I said I finished it on Goodreads yet. Murder on the Orient Express is a crime fiction novel that was first published in 1934, and it follows Hercule Poirot, which is one of the detectives that Agatha Christie wrote a series about, and I just decided to pick this one up because it sounded interesting, and I didn't really know that it was one of like the most famous of her novels, but I just randomly picked this one up. What I really liked about this one is that it had chapters. In one of the other Agatha Christie books I tried to read, I think it was The Murderous Affair at Styles, it doesn't have chapters, so it kind of like weirds me out. The beginning was a little slow because it doesn't just directly take you into the murder on the Orient. It has this really nice build-up that I really appreciated because I don't like just being thrown into something, and if we were just kind of thrown into the murder, it would have been a little rushed. But it was a little slow, but then I totally got into it, and it took me a little while to remember some of the people. Like, the names are there, but it was hard for me to place what they were from or like how they fit into the story. So I think that was just more on my part. Also, what's interesting about this book is that there are a lot of French phrases or like sentences, and I will try to say them, but I have never taken French, and it's just kind of me in my head trying to figure out like how to say them, but it takes me like a long time. So that kind of slowed me down, but it was really interesting that she had that in the book because it just added some kind of flavor to it. It made you understand that Hercule Poirot is like multi-talented in a lot of ways. Back on to how the pages are laid out, it's split into parts, and the second part is just like all the evidence, and I loved that. I was like, oh my god, it was separated into all the evidence of the different people, and I thought that was so smart because it made me be able to tell the people apart and be able to tell how their story was affected by the certain events. It was really interesting, and it was very smart to put it like that because then I, as the reader, was able to figure out a little bit more of what was going on, because in the beginning I was kind of just like reading and getting a little lost, but at the second part I was on point. Also, about the evidence portion, it really made the supporting characters really developed and really somewhat like real people. I understood who they were and their actions and their movements because we are in a third person view, so we get to see the actions of Hercule and of the people, so it really developed both sides of the story, and I loved that. I think if you're looking for a crime fiction novel or a mystery novel in general, I definitely think you should pick up Agatha Christie in general, or maybe even Murder on the Orient Express, because it was so good. Oh, I didn't talk about Poirot. I think he is very, very likable in some ways. He's willing to step on toes, and that's awesome. I think detectives need to be able to be your friend, but then not be your friend at the same time. Also notice that in the first couple chapters, he was like very observant and attentive to a lot of things, and that really off the bat made me feel that he was a real person who took everything at its face value, and then once he did that, he looked further into different sorts of solutions. I think he's a great character. I'd love to see more of him eventually when I read any of the numerous books he's in. Shout out to Elizabeth over at Livers and Brooms. She's kind of mainly the reason why I wanted to pick up Agatha Christie, because she talks about it so much. I had originally started this on the 7th and I finished it on the 14th, so it took me about a week. I read it kind of slowly because I wanted to get into the story a lot. So I absolutely loved the ending. I think the ending was just so kind of like perfect and kind of wrapped into a nice little gift for you. and I will give this 5 stars when I actually put it on Goodreads. And that was the 4th book I read in 2015. I'm really actually excited to film more reviews, and I was excited to film this review and my last review, and I think it's a great way for me to share my feelings about things without having to go into like huge detail on Goodreads, because sometimes I don't feel like doing that. Anyway, let me know if you read any Agatha Christie or even The Murder on the Orient Express. Let me know if you feel like which book I should read next in the series, or if I should just kind of just read the ones I have. I think I have The Murders of Ferret Styles, The Murder of Robert Ackroyd, and then there were none. And then I think Death on the Nile is the 4 that I have right now. So any one of those if you want to let me know. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye! So since we have last spoken, I have finished another book, and here is essentially my review of it. I recently finished Blankets by Craig Thompson. I had actually started this on the 30th of December, but then I realized that I wasn't going to finish it in 2014, so I was like, I'm going to put it down for a little bit, but then I picked it back up, and I finished it on